Yes, what is your name?
Trina. I know it says Catherine, but no one calls me that.
And we're at the James Monroe Museum.
Museum and library, we are. So
In
museum,
Fredericksburg?
Virginia.
Wonderful.
So the museum has been here since 1927, and it was actually founded and opened by James Monroe's descendants, and they would be Rose and her son Lawrence Gouverneur Hose. Rose is James Monroe's great-granddaughter. And so Lawrence would have been the great-great-grandson. And Lawrence actually ran the museum until his death in 1978. So not just started by them, but actually run by them. And so they really had a say in how their family items were being displayed, and they did some research. And then we are run by the University of Mary Washington, which is a state university here in Fredericksburg. And we actually have a very well-known historic preservation department, and so we always have students that are interning and on staff, which is a really nice connection to the university. And so the reason the museum is here is that James Monroe was not from Fredericksburg, but he kept his law office here in Fredericksburg from 1786 until 1789. We know he owned this piece of property for those 3 years. We have tax records for that. They rented a home on Caroline Street, which is still a private home today. And the reason it was here and not anywhere else is he was from Westmoreland County, just 2 counties to the east of Fredericksburg. And he inherited that property at the age of 16. He has 3 younger brothers, most of whom were involved with managing that farm. But he had studied the law under Thomas Jefferson shortly after the Revolutionary War. And in order to be a lawyer, you have to have clients. And there's not a lot of clients out in the farmland. So being in a city, and this was sort of a city at the time, gave him access to clientele. He leaves in 1789 because he is elected to be one of Virginia's first senators in the first U.S. Congress, which is seated in early 1790. And that's the beginning of his political career. He does return to Virginia and serve as a 3-term Virginia governor. He is also a Virginia delegate, which is what our internal state representatives are called. We have a special name for them here. And then other cabinet positions that he holds at the federal level include he was Secretary of State and Secretary of War. He is ambassador to England, Spain, and France twice. And then obviously he is elected to be the 5th U.S. president. So he is elected in 1816, he takes office in 1817. When he runs for his 2nd term, no one runs against him. So he runs uncontested, which no one really talks about. He and his wife Elizabeth Courtright Monroe, she's from New York State, they own several other properties in Virginia throughout their lives. So they owned this one briefly, and they also had a property in Charlottesville, which is the land that they owned is now part of University of Virginia. And then they later owned another property in Charlottesville. It's about 2 miles from Jefferson's Monticello. So Jefferson really wanted his friends to kind of live nearby so he could have easy access to having, evenings where they discussed political events and things like that. And then they had another property that was sort of their retirement location, and that was near Leesburg, Virginia. So it's Loudoun County, Virginia, about 40 miles west of DC. And that property is called Oak Hill, and that's still a private home today. So in terms of our museum, this is our orientation gallery, so you'll get a really good understanding of sort of the full spectrum of his political career and his life in late colonial and early U.S. statehood time period. When you go down the hall to the left is our Revolutionary War gallery, where you'll learn about his time during that war. He's only 18 and a student at the College of William and Mary when war breaks out. He befriends the Marquis de Lafayette during the winter at Valley Forge, and they become lifelong friends. They're only a year apart in age. I just like to think about the conversations that they were having around the fireplaces. And then when you come out of the Revolutionary War Gallery, you'll go straight across the hall where you'll see it's 3 rooms that are connected. It's a dead end. You can't possibly get lost. But you'll see some of the furniture items, including the desk where he wrote the Monroe Doctrine, which is still used today from time to time. And you'll see his wife Elizabeth her pianoforte, and their younger daughter Mariah also played that instrument quite well, apparently, as well as some other private pieces from their private collection. So jewelry that they, both Elizabeth, their first daughter Eliza, and their younger daughter Mariah would have worn. And there's some other just interesting little pieces. Read the notes on the walls, because just seeing the piece, you'd be like, why is that interesting? Read the notes. There's fun little factoids attached there. You can take pictures of anything you'd like, just no flash. And we do have a restroom by the front desk if you should need it or want it.